let's do number 3. So, where's my dang highlighter at? Gosh dang it. There we go. Alright, so we're going to do number 3. A rightward force of 405 newtons is used to drag a large box across the floor with a constant velocity of 0.678 meters per second. The coefficient of friction between the box and the floor is 0.795. Determine the mass. So we want the mass. So let's highlight stuff first. So this is the force. So this is the applied force. And just FYI, they don't usually give us this, but they said it's going to a constant velocity of that. And then the last thing they give us is the coefficient of friction, which is 0.795. Alright, so let's write some stuff down. So they give us the applied force. Force applied is 405. Good. They say it's a constant velocity. I'm not going to write that down, but I'm going to mentally note it. Now they give us the coefficient of friction. The friction coefficient equals 0.795. They don't give us anything else. So they give us very little, and we're supposed to find the mass. So first thing I'm going to do is write my formulas. So my force of gravity equals mass times acceleration of gravity. That's 9.8 because that's a constant. My force of friction equals the force of gravity times the friction coefficient. Okay, good. And lastly, the net force equals mass times acceleration. All right, which we can break that down later. All right, so we can't do this because we don't have the force of gravity, and we actually need the mass, which I'm going to put here. M equals, right? Now, let's do a free body diagram real quick. So we have the applied force of 405. Now, what did they tell us in here? This is, we're going to use our context clues on this one, right? It's actually one of the easiest ones here, but it's the most tricky. They tell us it has a constant velocity. So what does that mean if something has a constant velocity? Well, if you're driving in a car and you have cruise control set at 60, you're going 60. Are you accelerating? No, you're not, right? Acceleration doesn't mean necessarily guaranteed movement or not movement. It means it means you're changing in speed, right? So if you're going 60 only, you're not accelerating, right? If you're going 0, you're not accelerating either. So that means that this force of friction, it has to be the exact same for there to be no acceleration. Because if it's 404, it's accelerating to the right. If it's 406, it's accelerating to the left, right? So it has to be 405. So now, because we know there's a constant velocity, these have to be balanced. This force of friction has to be 405, which means we don't know the force of gravity, but we know the friction coefficient is 0.795. So let's get our calculator on hand, and let's do 405 divided by 0.795. And that's going to give us 509. 509. There we go. That's our force of gravity, right? So now if we come over here, we got 509 equals mass. Acceleration of gravity, that's a constant on Earth, so that's 9.8. So we're going to divide that out. Divide 9.8. And so 509 divided by 9.8. 51.9. So mass is 51.9. You could just say 52 if you wanted to, and that's it. Done. Super fast, super easy. We didn't even need to do this formula. We just knocked this out. So really, we got to remember context clues, right? Constant velocity means forces are balanced. If we were to do this formula, it wouldn't really work for us because the net force is 0, which also means this acceleration is 0. And it wouldn't work, right? Cool. Good job. If you guys got any questions, let me know.